for their complicity. There will be consequences in the streets, in our unions, at the ballot box, and eventually in the history books. Because the struggle for Palestine is not over, nowhere near it. This genocide will not end with just a ceasefire. It will not end until the blockade is lifted, until every Palestinian refugee is able to return, and until the land and its people are entirely free from the river to the sea. 2 years on, I just want to finish by saying something simple. We don't do this, you don't do this, because it's easy, but because it's right. Because we cannot let imperialism and injustice win. Because every act of solidarity from each of you is a refusal to ignore what is happening in front of us. And that refusal is power. In that refusal is a hell of a lot of power. There is hope and there is resistance. You prove every day that this is a movement of love, but it's a different kind of love. It's a fierce, a stubborn, and a radical love. That's what keeps us standing. That's what keeps us alive. Before I go, I can't get down from this stage with so many people here today without trying to lead you all in a chant. And it's a good one. If you're not familiar, it goes like this. I'm going to say one, and you're going to say, we are the people. I'm going to say two, and you're going to say, we won't be silent. I'm going to say three, and you're going to say, stop the bombing. And then we're all going to join together and chant, now, 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 now. Are you all ready?
Yeah!
One!
We are the people!
Two! We won't be silent! Three!
Stop the bombing now, 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 now! We are the people!
Two!
We won't be silent!
Three!
Stop the bombing now, 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 now!
One!
We are the people!
Two!
We won't be silent!
Three!
Stop the bombing now, 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 now!
One!
We are the people!
Two!
We won't be silent!
Three!
Stop the bombing now, 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 now!
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you for coming out. Free Palestine in our lifetime.
Hi everyone. My name is Josh Lees from the Palestine Action Group, Sydney. Thanks so much, Ethan, for another powerful speech. And of course, we stand in solidarity, as he said, with the joint struggles against oppression, against imperialism, against racism, and whatever part of this earth we happen to be standing on. That means here we stand with Indigenous people against racism, and it means we stand with the Palestinians against the racist genocidal regime in Israel. Now, of course, like everyone, we welcome any, even temporary reprieve for the people of Gaza from the 2 years of hell, of genocide, of massacre, and massacre, and starvation that they've suffered for the past 2 years. But, and it's a big but, Chris Hedges, a journalist who was recently shamefully censored and banned from speaking at the National Press Club, he wrote a very good piece about Trump's sham peace plan. And he said this: there will be no peace in Gaza, only the temporary absence of war. And this is very important. And I would add to Chris's words that while maybe, and we hope, there will be the temporary absence of death for some Palestinians in Gaza, that does not mean that this plan will allow Palestinians to actually live. And Palestinians deserve to live. And this live in freedom, in justice, in hope, with homes and food, all the basic things every human being on this planet deserves to have. And we absolutely must keep mobilizing as a movement, because this plan to live is none of that. None of it. We will keep mobilizing for free Palestine. Firstly, because we don't trust the genocidal bastards that have now come up with this so-called peace plan. Whether that's Donald Trump, whether that's his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who dreams of turning Gaza into a real estate. And of course, whether that's Netanyahu, the prime butcher of Gaza, the person who's presiding over this. Oh, whether it's the world leaders gathering in Egypt to discuss the future of Gaza without any Gazans present. The world leaders for 2 years who now think that they get to decide the fate of the Palestinian people. These people who have debased themselves, who do not have a single moral fibre in their body, as they've supported a genocide for 2 years. They've topped arm and funded and allowed Israel to carry it out. Now they are supposed to be the ones to bring about peace for the Palestinians. It's a sick joke and we won't stand for it. And we know Israel has broken every single deal it's ever made with the Palestinian people. And we know that even if they do stick to this so-called plan, it's not a plan for peace, it's a plan for ongoing occupation and siege and misery and torment for the Palestinians. And we know that the genocide and the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people did not begin on October 7 or October 8. It began in 1947 and before. And so it will not end with this so-called peace plan either. As long as Israel exists, a genocidal and apartheid regime, there will not be peace for the Palestinian people. And that's why we demand liberation. That's why we demand liberation for the Palestinian people. The people of Gaza, the people of 1948 Palestine, the 7 million Palestinian refugees driven out since 1948, and for the Palestinians of the West Bank who face escalated ethnic cleansing and genocide as well. So we demand liberation from the river to the sea. We demand a society in which Palestinians and yes, the Jewish people of the region and all the Arabs of the entire region can actually live based on the principles of equality and democracy and freedom, the kinds of things we are demanding everywhere in the world. Without justice. That means justice for the war criminals, for the genocidal maniacs that have killed hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza, and for all those world leaders who have allowed this to happen. There will not be peace without justice. There will not be peace without justice for the Palestinian people. And we will not give this system peace as long as it oppresses the Palestinian people. That's why we were protesting long before the past 2 years, and why we'll keep protesting until we win liberation for the Palestinian people and we bring down the imperialist, racist maniacs that have carried out this crime against humanity. And that's the call that we need to take up now and convince everyone of, because there is a massive momentum right now all around the world for the Palestinian cause. A momentum we've never seen before, a momentum which all those world leaders who are going to gather in Egypt want to go away. They hope now that they can all breathe a sigh of relief, that they can start to re-normalise this genocidal regime in Israel, that they hope all the pressure that's been mounting on them to stop funding and arming a genocidal regime will cease now. It's not going to cease. They're going to carry on. They're going to fight. Who's been part of this fight for a very long time, standing alongside us, and a rare voice in those hellholes, the parliament houses of this country, to actually speaking up for the Palestinian people. Thank you, Jenny.
And thank you all for coming out. I want to acknowledge that we are here on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and to pay our respects to elders past and present, recognising that it always was and always will be First Nations land. I want to acknowledge and thank Ethan for his powerful words and recognise that the struggle for sovereignty, the struggle against genocide, and the struggle for treaties and justice for First Nations people mirrors the struggle of those in Palestine. And give our commitment today that we will stand with of the escalations of the ongoing human rights violations and humanitarian disaster that has been inflicted on the Palestinian people. But we know, you know, the Greens know, and indeed the Palestinian people around the world know that this did not start on October 7. We know that the displacement, we know that the occupation, we know that the human rights violations, and we know that the terror and destruction of the Israeli government on the people of Palestine started a long, long time ago with the Nakba. 1948 indeed. And in addition to that, do you know what we know? We know that the reason that they got away with it then, and the reason that Israel got away with the genocide that they have committed now, is because of the weakness, because of the lack of moral compass, and because of the complete disgrace of our global political leaders that refuse to stand up against a genocide and against apartheid. And so you will forgive me when I say I am feeling a little bit fucking cynical about those same so-called leaders sitting in a room together, making a deal without the Palestinian people. It's called self-determination for a reason. Deciding what will come. And yes, we want to see the bombs stop. Yes, we need a ceasefire, but we needed that ceasefire from the beginning. Israel never had a right to defend itself that extended to the desecration of Palestine. Israel never had the right to defend itself that extended to the death of tens of thousands of Palestinians. There is a sign here that says if you went to a funeral a day for every child killed in Gaza, you would be going every day for more than 55 years.
Shame.
And yet we stand in a country where we see the failure of the Labour federal Prime Minister who once upon a time stood at rallies like this talking in support of Palestine when it was convenient to his political career, who then turns around and refuses to sanction a genocidal regime. And at a state level, we have a Premier who uses the New South Wales Police as a protection racket for him and his Labour Party cronies who want to back in the Zionists in this country. And I can tell you that about 2 years ago to the day I sat in the office of Premier Chris Minns, and I said to him that I was very, very concerned about his decision to light up the Opera House in the colours of an apartheid state. And he gave me feedback. He said, well, if we're being honest, I think it's unacceptable that you're supporting these protests that are sowing division in our community. Well, I say to Chris Minns, whose side do you remain on? The side of a Zionist state that has chosen to inflict a genocide on the Palestinian people, or the side of international humanity, of justice, and the need for people to have their rights respected. He chose a side on that day. And so when he wanted to hope that this issue would not come to the streets of New South Wales, it was him lighting up the Opera House that brought this to him. And so still they try and shut us down. They try and shut the protests down. They try and shut it down. But then, what do? We rise up. We rise up. We rise up because we know that we cannot let a world where Trump determines the future of the Palestinian people to be the kind of world that we want to live in. We rise up because we know that in our thousands and in our millions we are all Palestinians, and we have seen the most enormous global uprising of people around the world in solidarity with Palestine. And their only chance now at stopping this movement for peace and freedom for Palestinian people is to attempt to shut us down, to stop us from marching, to stop us from protesting. And we say no. We say never. And so can I say that don't stop coming out for Palestine. Make sure that you know that the violations and the occupation of the West Bank will continue. That Donald Trump's agenda for Palestine is not one that will deliver for the Palestinian people. And that there is a need to hold all of these war criminals to account. So can I say to every single one of you here, thank you for your strength and your solidarity. Please know that we all understand the cost that everyone who speaks out against the Israeli and Zionist agenda pay for doing so. And there is no option but to talk up for a free Palestine. So remember that we are on the right side of history. Remember the Greens stand with you in this struggle. And remember, and I say this directly to all the Zionists who want to sue me, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free!
Thousands and our millions. We are all Palestinians. In our thousands and our millions. We are all Palestinians. Long live Palestine!
We've had a Palestine actually through a very, very long week of protesting through various ways to, have this march to be as big as possible. And yes, it was disappointing that the highest court in this state banned us from marching to the Opera House. Banned us. Banned us from being seen and heard by the international community, but that didn't stop us. Look at these numbers. Tens of thousands of people have come out. Tens of thousands of people have come out today to protest, to demand an end to this genocide, and to say to our government that enough is enough, and we do not want to be complicit in this genocide. I just want to add that despite this peace plan, this supposed peace plan, in Gaza, there'll be no peace, there'll be no justice, there'll be no accountability until Netanyahu, until Donald Trump, until Keir Starmer, until Joe Biden,
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace upon you all. My name is Abu Bakr. I was one of the participants on the Global Small Flotilla.
Woo!
A non-violent mission made up of 496 ordinary civilians from 46 different countries that were doing what our government should have done, and that was to break the siege on Gaza. I just landed on Friday morning, so I apologize, I haven't prepared anything. I've been trying to get some rest and trying to recover after a, I guess, difficult journey. But there is a few things that I want to highlight. Firstly, I want to thank you all so much for the love, support, solidarity that you guys showed to try to get us out of those prisons, to try to free us from being kidnapped. This just shows we are community, we have a heart, and nothing can change that. They stole all my belongings, but what they didn't know is I have a community back home that is worth way more than everything that they. When I first arrived to prison, I was thrown into a cage 4 by 6 meters with 83 other men.
Shame!
I was unaware of where I was. They refused to tell us. So I took this as an opportunity to look outside the cage and see, is there anything, any sign that could tell me where I was? There was nothing. But in the distance, I saw 3 police officers holding 2 Palestinians, hands chained, feet chained, blindfolded.
Shame!
They were being escorted to, I have no idea. And when I was released out of prison, I was so happy. But I thought, I've been freed, but what about those 2 Palestinians that I saw at the same time that I was brought to prison? I was freed alongside the other activists, but what about the 10,000 Palestinian hostages? Innocent mothers, innocent children, innocent fathers have been stripped of their rights of humanity, have been stripped of everything. And our government is complicit in every one of these acts. Penny Wong. There's a lot of children, so I'll keep it PG. But she had the audacity to say we manufacture non-lethal parts for F-4. And this was being played on repeat in my mind while I was in prison. Why? Because we were only 20 kilometers away from Gaza. We had no access to a clock, but I knew when it was midnight. Why? Because as soon as midnight struck, we had dozens of fighter jets flying over our prison, making their way to Gaza to destroy innocent lives, to destroy Gaza. Yet she has the audacity to say we are manufacturing non-lethal parts. Non-lethal part is there of an F-45 of a fighter jet. We are manufacturing weapons that are taking the lives of innocent children.
Shame.
This will always be Australia's history. A history of supporting genocide of the Aboriginal people, a history of supporting the genocide of the Palestinian people. They had time and time and time and time again to prove their humanity. They had time and time and time again to change their views, but they were comfortable. They are comfortable standing there with their hands covered in the blood of the Palestinians. So we'll continue our fight. Palestine is not free. Palestine is still occupied. Palestine is still under apartheid. 10,000 Palestinians are still being held hostage. So we'll continue our fight. And I just want to end with one final thing. Talking here today really does mean a lot to me. And the reason I say this is because in prison, we were humiliated, we were tortured, we were abused, I was kicked, I was slapped, I was humiliated. And they did this with the goal that I will come home and I will remain silent. But to those IDF soldiers, to those Israeli soldiers, to those Israeli prisoners that thought they could silence us, look now, we will never be silenced! Their violence and their terrorism against us to place fear in our hearts, to scare us. But let me tell you something. Do not allow yourself to be scared. Do not allow them to place fear in your heart, because there is nothing to fear when you're on the right side of history. Free Palestine!
Because we are meeting on the stolen land of Gadigal Country, and we are so good at genocide in this country. We know how to almost erase an entire population of First Nations people. So having got those psychopathic serial killers in their cold dead eyes, I come back to this country and I am really aware of my white privilege, my complicity, and what I need to continue to do, which until my last dying breath, I will continue to call out the fucking bullshit of this government. Don't manufacture and send weapons. Now they're saying we indirectly send weapons. We make weapons here. Rosebank makes weapons. Elwood does. HTA. Blood on our hands in this country, and we need to keep our politicians. They are morally bankrupt, and history will go down as the war criminals that they are. And so our job as a collective is to force them to own up, to sanction Israel, to get out of bed with Trumpian kind of bully boy death cult that we're so desperate to be at the table with. And the Zionist lobby group in this country has so much power, but our leaders need to show true vision and get back to their moral compass. This is a Prime Minister who used to be at the front of student marches for Palestine. Where is it today? Come on, Albo. Like, why are you not here? For almost 500, ordinary people from all around the world went on these boats to try and break the illegal siege on Gaza. And we've got 20 nautical miles away. We can see the land. Woo! There's a lot of stuff that we can do a postmortem on later about torture and abuse, and every violation in human rights were completely desecrated. But imagine what happened to us. We can talk about it later, but imagine what's happening to Palestinians. There are 11,000 Palestinians in prison, 400 children who are in prison. At night time, we could hear the crying of some of those kids in the prison that we were in. We could hear the Alsatians going into those prisons, and then we could hear the horror. We could hear children crying for their mothers. Right, and these Zionist serial killers, they knew that they weren't allowed to kill us because we were using our white privilege, and the eyes of the world were on us, but the eyes of the world are not on Palestinians at the moment, and they need to be. We need to stand with them in solidarity and love and keep fighting. We need to sanction Israel. We need to stop doing There's been some moments of joy and resilience, and there was this one story we were about maybe 3 hours away from getting intercepted, and the Zionists keep blocking our VHF radio so we can't communicate with the outside world. And the way they do that is they play a Bob Marley song, Three Little Birds, which is like, don't worry about a thing because everything's going to be all right. And after that comes on the radio, they drone bomb us. And so we were in this sort of hellhole, but we managed to get a tiny bit of internet. And a doctor who was working in Palestine was on, I don't know if it was, I can't even remember what platform it was, but he was saying, you're 20 miles away, I've been working for months patching together children's limbs, I haven't slept, I haven't eaten, I'm exhausted, but what would you guys like for lunch? So it's just, their capacity for love under occupation and torture and starvation and almost the total erasure of entire population is overwhelming, and it's heartbreaking, but it keeps us so strong in our fight. So I want you to join us to, stop this hell, stop this genocide, and I really think we can do it. So thank you. Woo!
So, they wanted to scare us, they scuffed us up a bit, we experienced some violence, some sexual violence, some abuse. We were all in that cage when we first arrived at Kitsia, crammed in for Ben-Gvir to have a little media moment with us. It was a pleasure to call him the child killers with his face. Let's not exaggerate our experience too much, because we very much got the 5-star Western passport privilege version of being in Kitsia prison. We're talking about a place where Palestinians are routinely tortured to death over and over.
Shame!
Tortured so often and so frequently that they're tortured to death. People who haven't been charged with a crime that are there on administrative detention.
Shame!
People that are stolen from their families in the night and never return because they're tortured to fucking death. People are starting to realize that Israel is a genocidal terror state. But Israel has always been a genocidal terror state. And for 50 years before Israel was created, the Zionists that planned and conceived of the idea of Israel were planning and conceiving of the idea of a terror state. It's in the DNA of the state, and it will always be in the DNA of the state. No ceasefire, no plan for some
war criminals from the other side of the world will become administered the strip. No temporary end to the violence can stop us from demanding an end to the genocidal terror state. Nothing can stop us until there is peace and equality and justice for all human beings in historical Palestine, from the river until the sea. I'm going to do a really short little piece that I wrote for the Palestinian warriors in the crowd, for some people in Palestine who I'm close with, some of whom, when we were 25 nautical miles away from the shore and the sun was rising, I was speaking to, and they were on the shore waiting for us, and I was so certain that we would make it. We got so fucking close. I just want to do this little piece. Careful conceiving of the martyrs in the sky, because they're here, living and breathing in your heart, up in your mind, not just basking in the light, on the path and in the fight, in the darkness, in the fire, in the spark that's in your eyes. I see him. I hear him in the laughter of your child, for real. They fear him every march and every riot, every act of resistance, every part of the defiance, every activist, resistance fighter, artist and writer, every youth and every student and truth in every movement that the partisans and other intifadas inspired, every bellowed out of every pair of lips, every peace activist ever maligned as terrorist by these venomous, violent, malevolent tyrants. So be careful conceiving of the martyrs in the sky, because they're here, living and breathing in our hearts and in our minds. And if we take them with us in the fight through all time, we will know that's how the martyrs never die. Glory to the martyrs! Right, everyone, another huge hand for these legends of the Philippines. No one thinks this is the end. We're going to keep going. All right, and I can say from a personal experience, I was very lucky to have been in Italy over the last month. And I can talk about from my own experience the impact that the flotilla has made around the world. Because in Italy, we have seen now the flag be planted about the kind of movement we should all aspire to build. A movement which has exploded. There is now in Italy a mass student and workers movement taking on the Italian. Western country, general strikes for an international issue, a purely political strike, and standing up for the Palestinian cause in defiance of the Italian far-right government, which declared those strikes illegal, but they couldn't stop them. People have been storming train stations and airports. Who said, we're going to fight, we're going to lead the way, we're going to take action, radical action, but they had an orientation to a mass movement of workers and students. They made the link between the interests of the Italian working class and the Palestinians, a link that needs to be made everywhere in the world, because it's the same bastards that are killing the Palestinians that are also preparing for World War III, that are ripping out working living standards and conditions, imposing austerity on ordinary people around the world to fund billions for the war industry, which they plan to unleash in the coming years. So we need to aspire to that kind of movement. Maybe we can't happen today, maybe it can't happen tomorrow in Australia, but that's what we need to try to build towards. And we need to say as well that movement was able to force through its own mass action and militancy and determination, was able to force the official trade unions in Italy to back that general strike that took place on the 3rd of October. We need a trade union movement that's prepared to get off its ass and fight for Palestine. We need trade union movements that are prepared to fight for Palestine, that are prepared to strike for Palestine. And if they won't do it, we need to force them to do it through action within our unions and action from below. That's what we need here in this country as well. Alright, before I introduce our next speaker, I'm just going to quickly run through a bunch of announcements. We have one more speaker and then we're going to be taken to the streets here. So firstly, I'll have to run through this pretty quick. I think these details are right, someone yell out if I'm wrong. I think tomorrow morning there's people know the case of Nick Reamer and John Key, two University of Sydney academics who are being sued outrageously by Zionists who are trying to shut them up for speaking up for Palestine. They have a hearing or mention in the court happening tomorrow morning. There's going to be a rally in solidarity with them, 8:30 a.m. at Queen Square. Be there. Next Sunday, we're going to be protesting. Yes, it's linked to the question of Palestine, absolutely, as I'll go through, but it's also about standing up against the vile racists and fascists that we've seen mobilising outrageously around Australia lately. The so-called March for Australia, these vile neo-Nazis who want to drive out immigrants who want to attack Indigenous rights. These filth think they can march on our streets. How dare they? They don't stand for what we stand for. We're going to be there next Sunday as part of the United Movement to say no to these racists, to say no to these fascists, to drive them off our streets and to take back the streets for decent people like ourselves. So that's next Sunday morning. Straight after that, Jews Against Occupation and other organisations are holding it's a Palestine Kite Day, a family kite day at Maroubra Beach, kicking off next Sunday afternoon. Be there for that from 2 o'clock onwards. What else? Okay, early November, coming up is another event we should put on our calendar. We all know about the complicity of our governments and all the rest of it, but we also need to keep the focus on the rotten weapons industry. And outrageously, in early November, there's going to be held right here in Sydney at the International Convention Centre in Darling Harbour, a convention of weapons companies.
Shame!
Specific arms fair. Every criminal corporation that's been involved in the murder of the Palestinian people will be there to sell their wares to the world. Their weapons that they've battle tested on the Palestinian people, they now want to spruik to governments around the world to be used against ordinary people in the next war and the next war after that. They're going to be there. They should all, the CEOs of these companies should all already be in jail for their complicity in genocide. This arms fair deserves to be blockaded and shut down and banned. And that's what we're going to do. With every scumbag in the world there, and we're going to blockade it. And the next national march for Palestine, nationwide march for Palestine, to put this on the calendar as well, is going to be the 7th of December. That's going to be the next huge nationwide rally. I don't know if we've already mentioned it, but there's huge numbers out here today, but there's also huge numbers all around the country today coming out again to keep up this fight, to keep up the fight for Palestinian liberation. I'm going to try this anyway. This is a translation of a chant from Italy. I won't try to make us do it in Italian, but lots of inspiration to be brought home. This is just one. It goes like this. I'm going to say, Sydney, we know which side we're on, and you're all going to say, Palestinian liberation. Sydney, we know which side we're on.
Palestinian liberation.
Sydney, we know which side we're on.
Palestinian liberation.
Sydney, we know which side we're on.
Palestinian liberation.
Sydney, we know which side we're on.
Palestinian liberation.
Sydney, we know which side we're on.
Palestinian liberation.
All right, thanks everyone. And our final speaker is an absolute legend. Rule up and right in front of me. Thanks for all our Palestinian speaker and activist used to work for UN agencies. Please come talk to us, Rula.
Woo!
We stand in solidarity. We understand and acknowledge and respect your connection to the land, to the community, to every water, to every inch of your blood in this land. Because we, Palestinians, would rather sacrifice everything except the land. So we salute you, we acknowledge you, and we are with you.